All right, just want to start out by saying we play on the 20th anniversary of 9/11 this Saturday, and as part of our uniform on our helmets, we're going to be wearing this Never Forget 343 decal. It's honoring the 343 first responders who gave their life on 9/11. An opportunity for us to say thank you to those brave souls and to their families for the sacrifices that they've made, and to represent truly some heroic individuals from that day. Reviewed the game film from week one. We're really fortunate to be 1-0, and there's a lot of room for improvement. In fact, it's the biggest room in a house is room for improvement. And so we're worked on that, and know that we have to improve substantially in a lot of different areas in order to raise our level of play. Got a tremendous opponent, first SEC road game at night in going to be a loud and raucous environment versus a tremendous opponent. Got a lot of respect for Coach Stoops and the way he's built that program. Been there for, I believe, going on his 10th season. And has developed. Not only has he changed the perception of that program, he recruits at a high level. He develops his players at a high level. You look at guys like Josh Paschal, who are just really, really good players who were developed by him, recruited by him, and so got a lot of respect for him. They did an outstanding job in the transfer portal this year. Obviously, they added basically 4 NFL players or 3 NFL players on offense and an NFL offensive coordinator, and so they've gotten really good, really fast offensively, and then defensively they've always been good. Coach Stoops does a tremendous job. They're the #1 defense in the country right now after last week, and has always been very good on defense. Very solid special teams. Got dynamic returners. Still trying to replace the punter from last year, the Australian, and so. A lot of respect for them. Know we got our hands full. Offensively, the quarterback is really the straw that stirs the drink. The transfer from Penn State, Will Levis, I think he threw for about 360 yards last week. Really has a nice, hard play action, throws the ball down the field. You can tell the offensive coordinator does a great job of setting up his plays. Run and pass look exactly the same. They protect when they launch the ball. #1, I believe it's Wendell, is the transfer. Wendell Robinson, the transfer from Nebraska, is a dynamic playmaker with elite speed. Complements their other wide receiver, Josh Ali, really well. So they're very talented across the board. Their offensive line is considered by some to be the best offensive line in the country. It's bookended by 2 NFL tackles with Dare Rosenthal at left tackle and the Kincaid young man at right tackle, I believe, and Darian Kennard. So big tough opponent, big challenge for us. With that, I'll open up for questions.
I know it's one game, but how different was the offense you saw out of Kentucky than what you saw last year when they kind of had the reputation to protect the ball and run it a lot?
They had 560 yards, I think, and 420 of them through the air. I think last year they had 35 total plays, maybe, and maybe 35 through the air. So totally different style, totally different feel, executed at a high level, shifts, motions, formation, vertical shots, intermediate middle field throws, quick game. Got the whole. The only thing that's a surprise to me is how quickly they've gotten it to where they're at. Sometimes when you come in as a new offensive coordinator, so it makes such a drastic change, it's kind of hard to get it in that quickly. But they're humming on all cylinders right now, and obviously it helps when you add some great players like they've been able to add.
Coach, do you like going right into SEC play right out of the gates, or would you rather have a little bit more time?
After last year, I don't think it matters, man. Just let's get this party started. I think it's going to be a challenge for us. Obviously, it's the first time for me to get to experience with these guys on the road with the raucous crowd, and that's a huge concern for us, just handling the mechanics of that communication and handling the nerves and not letting the crowd dictate how we play. So we're going to have our work cut out for us and see what we're made of.
You look at Kentucky, what makes them the #1 defense?
I think it starts with their defensive line. I think they've got 3 returning starters. Marquin McCall started against us last year, and he was very difficult for us to block. We had our hands full. Josh Pascal is an outstanding defensive end, has speed to power, plays a 4-eye, can play a 5, play off the edge. Jordan Wright played against us last year. Big, long. Coach Stoops does a great job recruiting length in their odd defense, which is really tough to go against because it collapses lanes. Both their linebackers are back. Their 2 safeties are back. The only guys that aren't there are the guys that got drafted, so it's pretty tough defense. Good scheme, really good scheme. Play hard. Don't make a lot of mistakes. Make you beat them.
When you watched the film of Girls Week 1 game, what did you see from the offensive line? And sticking on that theme, what do they need to maybe improve against?
Obviously we rushed for 200 yards, which was good, but we had too many negative plays. And we can't allow frontside penetration on some of our zone schemes and some of our double teams. So I think for all of us, it's a concerted effort to eliminate negative plays, which put us in 3rd and longs. And then, when you go on the road, it's a trench football game. And if you got any shot at winning football games in the SEC, you got to win in the line of scrimmage, especially on the road. You got to be able to run the ball when you want to, not when you have to. And so, we got a big challenge ahead of us on that.
Eli, what about your defense on Saturday? Obviously picked up in the second half. First half, what concerned you? Any kind of red flag tackling or things like that?
There's a lot of red flags. I think it starts with tackling. Our tackling was very poor. I think we had some eye discipline issues. Guys in man-to-man who, let their guys cut loose that may not have shown up on tape, but it's going to show up if we don't fix it. We had some loose coverage, supposed to be inside technique. We were lined up outside, supposed to be outside technique, lined up inside. So things like that have to get corrected that result in explosive plays. I think overall, from Saturday, I think the biggest disappointment was tackling and explosive plays. I think the most exciting thing was the sacks, the pressure on the quarterback, and the turnovers. But it can't be Jekyll and Hyde. Otherwise, against a team like what we're fixing to play, that scoreboard's going to light up real quick.
I think Mekhi Wingo led all the defensive tackles the number of snaps. Was that the idea going in, or did it just kind of unfold that way? Did you see something out of him?
I think he's done a really good job of staying in shape, and obviously bigger guys tend to lose their wind a little bit faster, and he's more of a sudden young man, and I think he was playing really well. So you got to stick with the guys that are performing, and he performed really well, and he's going to continue to get opportunities as he seizes the opportunities in front of him.
Eli, you mentioned September 11th, and you might have told this story last year, but do you remember where you were September 11th, 2001, and you remember to that day?
Yeah, I was in Arkansas Tech University. I was in a physical science classroom auditorium, and a professor walked in maybe a couple minutes late, told us what had happened, and canceled class. And I walked back to my dorm, watched coverage. I actually my car was in the shop in Little Rock and had to drive. Somebody took me to Little Rock to pick up my car, and I remember the gas lines, in the gas stations were really long, and man, it was a scary day. Scary day.
Every game is important, obviously, but Kentucky and Missouri, who's ever won this game has always finished higher than the other one.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but relative to this division and where your programs are, just how big is this game?
They're all big. They're all big. Obviously last year was a big game for us because we hadn't beaten them in 5 years, and I think getting that off of our chest was good. I think it's, Coach Stoops been there for 10 years. 10 years, recruited at a really high level and developed his players. So to try to make a comparison, us and them right now, I think is a little bit soon. I think we got to control who we are. We got to do what we need to do, go on the road. I mean, I don't think anybody's season ends after week 2, regardless of how it plays out. I think it's a big test for us on who we want to be and how we want to perform and what we want to do on the road, which we didn't play particularly well last year on the road. I think we had 1 road win. So I think for us it's more about a test to see how much we've grown and developed. I don't look at it as this is where Kentucky's program versus Missouri's program is. I think that's making it probably a little bit too big. I think it's a big test for us on the road to play in front of an SEC crowd early in the season. And we're going to find out all kinds of issues that we got to get fixed. We're going to find out how much improvement we made from week 1. And regardless, if you win, you're 1-0 in SEC with 7 to go. And if you don't, I don't remember, but I don't think. Well, maybe Florida was undefeated in the East last year, but most of the time, the East winners aren't undefeated.
Coach, what kind of improvement from week 1 to week 2 would you like to see from Connor Bazelak specifically?
Third downs.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on what exactly on third down you'd like to see?
We got to throw completions. Yeah, I mean, we were 2 for 12 on third down conversions, so we got to be much better on third downs, and that's me, that's him, that's everybody. But that was really the only thing I was concerned with.
When you talk about transfers, and you got some great performances from guys who came up from Group of 5 schools, is this kind of the way of the future, that smaller programs are going to be recruiting pipelines for larger programs, and that's the way it's going to move going forward?
I don't know. Maybe. I can't speak to probably what the future is going to be. I'm worried about Kentucky here coming up, and I mean, they have transfers that aren't from smaller schools that are big-time players from them. So I don't know. I don't think anybody can predict what the transfer portal is or isn't going to be. I think we're all just kind of reacting to it instead of trying to figure out the trends.
Saturday was our first chance to see Mookie Cooper
Yeah.
in his uniform. How important is it just to try to get the ball in his hands a few times a game to let him potentially break a play?
I mean, it's important for us to get the ball to whoever the play is designed to get the ball and to execute. I mean, Mookie is a got great speed and dynamic playmaker, but the play doesn't care who makes it. So whether it's Mookie's design play or if it's not, we just got to go execute.
I think that was the first time he's played the game in 3 years, and obviously he was limited in practice. I mean, was there some I don't know if it's nerves or rust or anything for him that you saw on Saturday?
I didn't see any rust. I think there was one jet towards the end when the ball came out and went out of bounds. But other than that, I mean, I thought he did a nice job of trying to avoid tackles and secure the football. And wish we'd have got him more space. Wish he'd have made a different cut on one of them. But I didn't have any concerns. I don't think he did either. I think my biggest concern was that he felt comfortable from his injury, which I think he did.
Speaking of wide receivers, Eric Bannister's been a guy who's been here, I believe, 5 years now. Just what's been your overall impression of him and his veteran leadership? Yeah,
I mean, absolutely exactly what you said. Veteran leader who's consistent in his approach, and whatever task we assign him, he's a master of those details and executes it at a high level. Plays to his strengths, plays to our team's strengths, and somebody that we're very fortunate to have on our team.
Coach, in regards to COVID-19 restrictions, how does a road game this year compare to maybe how it was last year?
Well, we got fans, and I think they're calling for a sellout, so we got to work noise, and that's totally different. Last year you could yell out on the field and make play call adjustments. This year I don't think we'll have the ability to do that. Obviously, the planes, trains, and automobiles is a little bit different. Of course, we've got a little bit of a snafu because of the Columbia Airport being under construction right now, so we're having to change our travel a lot relative to what it's been. So that's going to be interesting to see how we adjust to that adversity. But other than that, I think it'll still be the same, and we'll still wear masks and do the things that we need to do to protect ourselves and those around us.
Sorry, I don't know how much detail you want to give, but do you mean change times, or do you have to leave from somewhere else, or?
Yeah, we got to leave from somewhere else. We're potential can have, I think some of us can leave, well, it's just, I'll let Molly do a press release because it's a long story. But yeah, most of us, half the team or half the travel party's got to go out of St. Louis. Some of us got to go out of Columbia. Potentially none of us can fly back into Columbia depending on the weather and the weight limit of the plane. And so.
Coach, what did it mean to you last week to get to reward Chance May with a scholarship?
Yeah. I mean, Chance is just a great young man who works really hard, has battled through, walk-on life, right? Like, is there ever light at the end of the tunnel? And has been a tremendous asset to our football team throughout the spring, summer, fall camp. Has done everything we've asked him to do, gives us great looks, coaches the other players, embraces his role, and when you're that age and maybe you get asked to do something that you don't want to be doing, like you're over there maybe doing scouts or whatever, it's easy to fall into this woe is me, why am I doing this, do I even want to be out here? And man, he had an incredible week of practice, like gave us a tremendous look. When you see somebody respond in that way, you just want to reward them. And, we had the ability to do that, and that's what we wanted to do.
Did you come up with the idea to FaceTime his dad?
Yep.
Coach, have you played a game at Kentucky before and previously as an assistant?
I did, 2010, when I was at Auburn. We went there week 5, maybe it was week 5, maybe 6. Got out to a big lead. I think Joker Phillips was the head coach at that point. Got out to a big lead. They came back, tied the game, had the ball with 7:43, something like that. Drove it the length of the field, kicked a field goal with no time left to beat them 34-31, I think was the final. Great crowd, good atmosphere, tough place to play.
When you talk about Mark Stoops, though,
Yeah.
what do you really respect about maybe the way he goes about his business, his coaching style, things like that?
Well, I think he had a plan, and he's executed his plan since he's been there, which it started with recruiting. There was an article the other day about how well he's done recruiting the state of Kentucky, which, obviously I think starts first. And then he's expanded that and recruited more of a Midwest team instead of always going down. He's identified areas that can help them. He does a great job in Florida, but he also recruits Detroit really well, Michigan really well, some of the Big Ten areas. And so he knows who he is and who he's recruiting. And then you look at his team in the way they have developed players. I mean, 5 drafted players last year. They're always fundamentally sound. They don't beat themselves. They're in a lot of football games. He's got a great record in one-score games, where that to me is when you as a coach really got to coach, right? It's one-score football games, and he does a really nice job in those, and so you can tell he's got an overall sense of how the game's going to play out in offense, defense, and special teams. I think he's made bold moves, obviously last year, changing the offense and looking at what that's been. He started out spread wide open when he was there, and then after Neal left, kind of raked it back down in, controlled the clock, played great defense, kept himself in games. Won 10 games, I think, a couple years ago, was playing in late November to win the East. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Second longest tenured coach in the SEC. That's hard to do, man. I mean, it's about 2 years and we get shipped out of here. So he's done a heck of a job.
You talked a lot last week about not being able to be sure what to expect. With a week of kind of data points now, do the rotations get refined a little bit going into week 2, or do you expect to kind of play as many guys as you played last week?
I think it's still really early in the season to limit reps. I mean, I think maybe in key situations you're going to see the guys that we know need to play, but we still got to develop our team. We're early in the process. I can't lose the forest for the trees, right? I mean, it's week 2 of the season. It's a long season. It's going to be a physical season, and we're going to have to make sure that we got young guys ready, these freshmen. We're going to have to make sure that we're developing our players and get road experience. And so, I mean, I think one of the regrets I have from last week is not playing enough guys. And so I definitely think we're going to continue to play more players. I think in key situations you'll see key guys, but other than that, I think we got to continue to rotate.
Is that left guard spot, is that still two guys? You want to see both of them or lean toward more of them?
I thought both of them had good plays and bad plays that we got to learn from. I think both of them will play again. I like being fresh in the offensive line. I think Luke Griffin's done some really good things. I think he could see himself rotating in. I think, obviously Zeke Powell, is right there ready to go too whenever we need him. So I think there could be all kinds of rotations. Coach Johnson runs that thing like a basketball team. You look up and there's guys rotating in and out. You never know quite who your five's going to be, so it's good.
Can you expect 25 carries from Tyler Beatty each week? After the game, he was kind of joking after him, saying he's super tired, but is that something he'll have to get used to?
Well, if he wants to be the man. It's going to take what it takes to win. If it takes 25, it takes 25. Last year against Kentucky, I think our guy had 34. So if it takes what it takes, if he wants to be the guy and he's ready, he's ready. If he's not ready, then we'll put somebody else in there. But I don't have a pinch count on him. He's got to touch the ball a certain amount of times in order for us to be successful. He's a dynamic playmaker for us, and however we can get it to him, we'll get it to him.
How impressed were you with Elijah? The one play that Tyler did have to come out going in there and breaking off a 30-yard run.
Well, it was funny because we'd given him a handoff. I think he had already had 2 handoffs and hadn't really done, hadn't really able to get going. And on the headset, Loop said, "Hey, this is it. If he's not going, we'll put another back in there." And then he takes it and scores. So I don't know if maybe Loop had a headset into him too and got him going. But now Elijah's been a very good player for us and had a really good spring. And we knew it last year. Tried to make sure he got a couple of reps. On a couple of different things throughout the season just to make sure he was ready for us. And he's a very good complementary back to Tyler and runs really hard, has great speed and good vision. So really for us, we got to figure out who that third back is going to be that can really offset those two guys. And that was the only position that we wish we would have got some more guys in there.